According to a new report from the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, 2022 witnessed an unparalleled increase in the number of people forcibly driven from their homes. The report also indicated that the burden of providing for these individuals disproportionately fell on poorer nations. In this report released on Wednesday, the UNHCR stated that an all-time high of 110 million people worldwide have been displaced, with the conflict in Sudan exacerbating an existing crisis precipitated by the war in Ukraine. The study revealed that the surge in global forced displacement shows no signs of slowing. By the close of 2022, the displacement tally increased by a record 19.1 million compared to the preceding year, a surge propelled by hostilities and disturbances related to climate change. UNHCR spokesperson Chris Melzer spoke to DW about the situation, emphasizing the harsh reality of people being violently expelled from their residences due to warfare, a scenario he described as a catastrophe for humankind. The UNHCR report underscored that the responsibility of hosting displaced persons is disproportionately shouldered by poorer nations rather than their wealthier counterparts. Displaced individuals often find themselves in a neighboring country, regardless of whether conditions are only slightly improved, while many Western nations display hesitation in accepting those compelled to leave their home countries. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi warned of the devastating consequences, displacement and distress for each of the millions of people forcibly dislocated from their homes if solutions are not found. Furthermore, the report pointed out that by the end of 2022, almost 4.4 million people around the globe were stateless or had an undetermined nationality, a 2% increase compared to the previous year. The 2022 Global Trends in Forced Displacement report from the UN Refugee Agency outlines that out of the displaced population, 35.3 million individuals were identified as refugees, having ventured beyond their national borders in pursuit of security. However, the majority, accounting for 58%, or 62.5 million people, experienced displacement within their home countries. In 2022, the conflict in Ukraine was the principal driver of displacement, with the refugee count spiraling from 27,300 at the conclusion of 2021 to a staggering 5.7 million by year's end. This escalation signified the most considerable exodus of refugees since the Second World War. The report also noted increased numbers of Venezuelans seeking international protection in Colombia and Peru, while the Afghan refugee population in Iran was believed to have significantly increased. In the past 3 days, the Ukrainian defense forces have made headway in certain front areas, advancing between 200 meters and 1.4 kilometers, and freeing approximately 3 square kilometers. This information was reported on Telegram by the Military Media Center, referencing Andriy Kovalyov, a spokesperson for the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces as per Ukrinform. Kovalyov provided updates on the ongoing battles in Berdyansk direction, specifically within the vicinity of Makarivka village, as well as the areas around the villages of Novodanilivka and Novopokrovka. The report also highlighted that the adversary has escalated the frequency of missile and airstrike assaults. Specifically, the previous night saw the enemy deploy Kate-22 cruise missiles, Kaliber sea-based cruise missiles, and Shahed UAVs to target infrastructure facilities in the regions of Kharkiv, Donetsk, Kirovohrad, and Odessa. As Ukrinform stated, during the night of June 14th, Ukrainian air defense forces were able to neutralize 3 out of 4 enemy Kaliber cruise missiles and 9 out of 10 Shahed 136-131 drones. The report additionally revealed that the enemy launched Kaliber cruise missiles targeting Odessa from the Black Sea. While 3 missiles were intercepted, 1 managed to strike a civilian site. Russian forces, positioned on the eastern coast of the Sea of Azov, also launched 10 Iranian-manufactured Shahed 136-131 attack drones towards the south. In the coming months, Ukrainian pilots will begin training on F-16 fighter jets in the Netherlands, with plans underway to establish a training center. This news was shared by the Dutch Defense Minister, Kajsa Ollongren, via Twitter, as reported by Ukrinform. Ollongren informed the House of Representatives about the impending support for Ukraine, mentioning the F-16 training initiative and the collaboration with partners to develop an F-16 training facility. She further stated that the strengthening of Ukrainian air defenses would continue. The Dutch Defense Ministry released a statement on its website, affirming that the training of Ukrainian pilots on the F-16 will commence in the near future. It further stated that the Netherlands, along with several European nations, is actively working towards initiating F-16 training for Ukrainian pilots as soon as feasible. Concurrently, a training center is being organized in an Eastern European country. The statement also emphasized the Netherlands' ongoing commitment to bolstering Ukraine's air defense. Prior reports indicated that a coalition of partner nations, led by Denmark and the Netherlands, was preparing to instruct Ukrainian pilots on flying F-16 fighter jets. In the Luhansk region near the town of Svatova, Ukraine's defense forces have dismantled a launch pad used for deploying Russian uncrewed aerial vehicles. This information was provided by the head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, Artem Lysahor, as reported by Ukrinform. Lysahor described the situation as a war of drone operators, particularly along the Svatove-Kupiansk axis. He noted that the position from which the Russians had been launching their drones was detected and subsequently neutralized. He praised the performance of the Achilles Attack UAV company from the 92nd Separate Motorized Brigade. Further details from Lysahor revealed that the operators utilized Mavic 3 and Mavic 3 T-Birds, equipment received from the United 24 initiative. Earlier reports from Ukrinform mentioned that the troops of the 92nd Brigade of the Armed Forces had successfully disrupted enemy satellite communications in the same operational zone. At night, air defenses shot down 3 Russian Shahed drones over Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. Quote, "At night, the enemy launched drones towards our oblast, but defenders from Skid Air Command prevented his plans. All 3 Shahed drones were shot down in the sky over the region." Apart from that, Lysak reported that the Russians also attacked with heavy artillery. Nikopol was hit. This time, there were no casualties. Rescue workers are examining the area and establishing the consequences of the shelling. The Ukrainian military reports that Russia suffered further losses on June 13th, with the casualty count reaching 680 servicemen, in addition to 8 tanks, 11 armored combat vehicles, 17 artillery systems, 2 multiple launch rocket systems, and 1 air defense system. This information was shared by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine via Facebook. The estimated total combat losses for the Russian forces from February 24, 2022 to June 14, 2023 are outlined below, with the numbers in parentheses representing the most recent losses. Roughly 217,330 military personnel, an increase of 680, 3,943 tanks, an increase of 8, 7,653 armored combat vehicles, an increase of 11, 3,783 artillery systems, an increase of 17, 603 multiple launch rocket systems, an increase of 2, 364 air defense systems, an increase of 1, 314 fixed-wing aircraft, 300 helicopters, 3,324 operational tactical UAVs, an increase of 15, 1,196 cruise missiles, an increase of 13, 18 ships, boats, no increase, 6,482 vehicles and tankers, an increase of 9, 516 special vehicles and other equipment, an increase of 5. The above details are currently being corroborated. A blaze has erupted at the Novocherkassk thermal power plant in Russia's Rostov Oblast, according to a report by Russian state news agency, TASS, dated June 14th. An explosion was heard by locals before the fire broke out around 1:40 p.m. local time, as relayed by the Novocherkassk Segodnya Telegram channel. The 6th unit of the plant was identified as the fire's origin point, which later extended to the 5th unit, impacting a minimum of 400 square meters. According to Russian sources, the fire was a result of breach of safety protocols during repair work, which led to an explosion. TASS reported that the fire caused burns to 3 people and necessitated the evacuation of 150 individuals. Russian media announced around 3 p.m. local time that the fire was under control. Rumors of an aerial strike on the plant began to surface on social media, as per Novocherkassk Sigodnya, but these have not been substantiated. The Kyiv Independent was unable to confirm these claims. Novocherkassk is situated approximately 70 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, currently under temporary occupation, and 45 kilometers from the Russian regional center, Rostov-on-Don. Ever since Russia initiated full-scale warfare against Ukraine on February 24, 2022, there have been numerous accounts of fires and other incidents across Russia, speculated to be the handiwork of the Ukrainian military or local guerrilla groups. Recent reports include fires at an oil depot in Krasnodar and a production facility in St. Petersburg on June 13th. On June 9th, a fire engulfed a fuel and lubricant storage facility in Ufa, located in Russia's Bashkortostan Republic, approximately 550 kilometers north of the Kazakhstan border. On June 14th, the Sumy Region Prosecutor's Office reported that Russian attacks on June 13th resulted in the deaths of 2 civilians and 4 forestry workers traveling in a vehicle in Sumy Oblast. The statement highlighted that, on June 13, 2023, a UAZ car traversing the Seredina Buda Community region was targeted in contravention of internationally recognized war protocols. Additionally, the police noted that Russian airstrikes led to damage to a local orphanage's dormitory, a private residence, a commercial establishment, and electrical lines. Earlier, Governor Volodymyr Artyuk had suggested that there were 7 fatalities in Sumy Oblast over the preceding day, all of whom were forestry workers. Governor Pavlo Kyrylenko has updated the casualty report from the June 14th strike on Kostiantynivka, Donetsk Oblast, stating that the number of wounded has increased to 2. Previous reports indicated that the missile attack on the city had resulted in 1 death and 1 injury. However, Governor Kyrylenko has revised this information to report 2 injuries. In the past 24 hours, several cities and villages in the oblast have been subjected to artillery and missile attacks by Russian forces. In his morning briefing, Kyrylenko reported that the oblast had seen 3 fatalities and 6 injuries in the past day. This included 2 deaths and 2 injuries in Kramatorsk and 2 injuries in Toretsk. The Interior Ministry disclosed on June 14th that 2,779 individuals have been evacuated from flood-stricken regions of Kherson Oblast, where 28 communities on the government-controlled right bank continue to be inundated. The ministry reported that the floodwaters have started to recede in several villages, including Olhivka, Mykolaiivka, Lvovo, and Berhunka in the Tyahinka community, Stepanivka in the Kherson community, and Bobrovyi Kut and Zapovit in the Kaliniv community. Routine patrolling of these inundated and adjacent regions is ongoing. In addition, those residents who opted to remain are being provided with essential supplies, such as food, water, and other necessities. A breach in the Kakhovka Dam on June 6th led to a significant humanitarian and environmental crisis, causing widespread flooding in Kherson Oblast and beyond. Ukrainian authorities assert that this damage was inflicted by Russian forces. During the day, the defense forces attacked places of concentration of the Russian army 13 times from aviation, hit anti-aircraft missile systems 4 times, eliminated 2 enemy UAVs, according to the report of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. During the day, the aviation of the defense forces carried out 13 strikes on enemy personnel concentration areas and 4 on enemy anti-aircraft missile systems. Also, our defenders destroyed 2 enemy operational tactical UAVs Orlan 10, the summary says. According to the General Staff, units of missile troops and artillery during the day hit the control point, 8 areas of concentration of enemy personnel, weapons and military equipment, 3 ammunition depots, an anti-aircraft missile system, 7 artillery units in firing positions, 2 air defense systems, and an enemy electronic warfare station. Russian occupying forces have cut off the data feed from radiation monitoring sensors at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, ZNPP, which had previously been transmitted to Ukraine, according to Oleg Korakov, the chief state inspector for nuclear and radiation safety of Ukraine. He revealed this information at a press briefing on June 14th. Korakov disclosed that the automatic data transmission was halted a fortnight ago, following orders from Moscow. He emphasized that this act was a violation of nuclear and radiation safety protocols and was totally unacceptable. He further elaborated that the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, experts present at the plant have been compelled to resort to manually recording the sensor data, either by taking photographs or writing down the figures, for transmission to the IAEA headquarters. Kurikov stressed that the invading forces were flouting fundamental safety norms and principles pertaining to nuclear power plants. He maintained that only the plant's demilitarization and liberation could rectify the situation. IAEA chief Rafael Grossi landed in Ukraine and held a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on June 13. However, he deferred his visit to the Zaporizhzhia NPP due to security apprehensions, as reported by Reuters. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar reported on Ukrainian television on June 14 that the Ukrainian forces are steadily advancing despite the intensified attacks and widespread minefields set up by Russian troops to impede Ukraine's highly anticipated counteroffensive. Maliar conveyed that the enemy has escalated their attacks, utilizing artillery and mortar shelling, as well as airstrikes in their attempt to halt Ukraine's offensive. She highlighted that their forces in the south are encountering extensive minefields which greatly hinder advancement. Although the progression may seem slow in terms of numbers, Maliar emphasized that it is indeed steady. She also discussed intense confrontations as Ukrainian forces simultaneously execute both offensive and defensive maneuvers across various fronts. Maliar mentioned that there have been no recorded advancements from Russian troops in the past week and early this week as well. She stated that wherever the enemy attempts to progress, such as the Bakhmut direction, Ukrainian forces also strive to advance, successfully preventing any Russian progression. On June 12th, Maliar reported that 7 settlements in the Zaporizhzhia and Donetsk regions had been liberated by Ukraine's armed forces during the past week as part of the ongoing counteroffensive. She revealed that the Ukrainian military has gained ground by 6.5 kilometers and reclaimed 90 square kilometers of land. On June 10th, President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed during a press conference in Kyiv that the counteroffensive has been launched. This highly expected counteroffensive is considered a critical turning point for Ukraine in its efforts to reclaim its territory from Russia and resist making concessions to Russia during discussions.